What's up? Bryant Cook, and today I'm here to talk to you about the brand spanking new Pioneer Challenger decks. They were announced yesterday, August 24th, and I happen to be a little bit of an expert on one of them, and that would be the Lotus Field combo deck. I've played a ton of it in my life, and I'm here to talk to you about ways that you can upgrade it, how to play it. I'll even show you how to play it in a league, and some other cool tips and tricks. So these are the Challenger decks. The last time that I can remember a Challenger deck being legal, it was back during Kaladesh Standard. There's probably been some since then, and I just don't remember them. But they were great value for around $40 at least in my area. You could grab an entire standard deck and play it at your next event. You can do the same thing with these. I'm not sure if they'll be $40. They could be $60. Who knows? But when you look at this deck, it's got a lot of what you need here, especially a lot of the small pieces that you're definitely going to want for playing Lotus Field combo in Pioneer. And the first thing you need to know, this deck is built around Lotus Field. It's the heart and soul of this deck. They're about $8 each. So assuming that your deck is around $40 to $60, this is a majority of that cost. In fact, most of the cost is in the mana base. You'll go down, there's Thespian stage, those are about $1.50 each. You have a Maya Coast, $1.50 each. Temple of Mystery, about $1. And then you have these 10 lands, I'm sorry. And, that's a big cost in this deck, is mostly the mana base. And then you'll go through, you have your Fae of Wishes to go grab your win condition, which is Approach of the Second Sun, Boreal Grazer, Vizier. The Vizier's an untap effect for your Lotus Field. That's its primary goal here. And I'll do an in-depth breakdown once we're in Magic Online. I just wanted to do a quick skim while we're in here. Peer into the Abyss, a phenomenal Magic the Gathering card. It's about $2, but I play it in Legacy. It's so good. Here in this Pioneer deck, we're playing 3. Draw half your deck for half your life. What a wonderful thing. So when you go to cast this card, you definitely want 2 mana floating, so that way you can cycle your Vizier to untap your Lotus Field or cast Hidden Strings. But, like I said, we'll get into the how to play this deck thing in just a little bit. But the weird thing about this is that there's only 2 dig through time, in my opinion. This is a card that you definitely want 4 of. So you'll want to grab 2 more of these. And then Opt isn't really stock in this deck. I think that they did it because they only included 2 copies of Temple of Mystery. You're going to want to swap these Opts out for other cards, but we'll get to that. Alright, so enough stalling. Why don't we just get into it? Alright, so this is the Challenger deck imported into Magic Online. And it's a great start. Let's commend Wizards for that. This is a lot of the deck that you're going to need to play. Props to them. No judgment from me. Like, for $40 to $60, you're getting a very large portion of the deck. So, ways that you can upgrade it. Balagad Recovery. That card's about 50 cents. There should be 4 of it in here. There's 4 copies of Balagad Recovery in every single Lotus Field list that's published. Alright, so this list has 24 lands. You can easily cut 4 lands from this deck and add in, for Balagad Recovery. And part of the reason that Balagad Recovery is so good is that it's versatile. So it can be that land that you need to sacrifice to Lotus Field. It can get back your dig through time or your hidden strings after they've been discarded. It's just really phenomenal. Regrowth in Pioneer is certainly nothing to, roll your eyes at. It's very powerful. The next thing you want to do is grab 2 more copies of Temple of Mystery. Alright, so that would bring you to only having 4 basics in your deck. I think that these are pretty crucial because you want to put them into play off a Boreal Grazer. So not only are you accelerating, you're creating card quality. So you definitely want to get your copies of Temples that are about $1. And with those last 4 basic land slots, there's the Bark Channel Pathway. So that card is about $5 to $6, and it is a flip blue-green land. I realize that $5 to $6, $20 for a playset, it's not cheap to everyone, but it's certainly worth the upgrade. It's a very powerful land in this deck, and I think it's something that you'd want to get eventually. Another land that you may want to look into is Blast Zone. So Blast Zone is a land that you can search for with your Sylvan Scrying to answer, your opponent's creatures or a permanent that might stop you from winning the game. It's just really good, so definitely look into Blast Zone as well. I'd probably want to get rid of these Ops. And then those could become your 4th copy of Fae of Wishes, 2 more Dig Through Time, and then the Blast Zone. So those are probably what I would replace the ops with. They're not really in any list like I mentioned. I think that it was just a budget constraint for this list. So assuming that you get your fourth copy of Fae, 2 more Dig in the Blast Zone, your main deck is actually, that is a stock deck, assuming that you've upgraded your lands. Like, that is as stock as it gets for Lotus Field combo. In this sideboard, we have Approach of the Second Sun. Like I said, this is how you win the game. Yeah, so there's no Ugin in the board, and I think that's because Ugin's about $30. Ugin is not necessary. Let me repeat that. It is not necessary, but it will certainly win you games where, you have 8 mana, your opponent has a bunch of stuff in the game, you can't win. Fae into Ugin will wipe out your opponent's board and then just reset, and then as your opponent's trying to claw back in, Ugin just shuts them down. It's almost in every single list I've seen. There's been a few that haven't run Ugin, but it's pretty stock. You're going to want to grab an Ugin eventually, but only once you're playing in competitive level events. You don't need one for casual play, whatever. But Ugin's definitely a card that you should be interested in. Maybe you could grab one out of your commander deck. That'd certainly be a place where you could also put the Ugin if you decide that this deck isn't for you and you've invested that money. All right. And then our Thought Distortions to help beat up on blue decks. Sometimes you've seen these split with Physical Dispute, but 3 Thought Distortions certainly fine. You get the black mana from your Lotus Field. Sweltering Suns, these are normally Anger of the Gods. I have my reasons for believing that they put Sweltering Suns in here, but they're essentially the same. One exiles creatures, one cycles. They're both fine. I don't have any strong opinions on that. Wilt is a card that blows up Damping Sphere. Don't cut these. They're pretty important. You want to be able to blow up Damping Sphere, and that's what Wilt does for us. Shifting Ceratops allows you to beat Narset out of blue decks. It's just really good against the blue control decks of the format, and Spirits, which is another Pioneer Challenger deck. So if you're just battling Challenger decks, Shifting Ceratops is a house in that matchup. You definitely want it against the Spirit deck. And then Tormod's Crypt for any graveyard combo. All right, so how does Lotus Field work, right? Like, you bought this deck, you're not really sure what you're doing. What should you be looking to do when you're playing? All right, so this deck works at its core. The engine of the deck is getting a Lotus Field into play, sacrificing 2 lands to the Lotus Field because that's part of its triggered ability. And then you want to copy it with Thespian Stage. When you copy it, you do not have to sacrifice the lands. It's already in play. So that way you just have 2 lands in play that tap for 3 mana, right? That's pretty great. And then from there, you use Hidden Strings to untap both of your 3 mana lands. So you're spending 2 mana to untap 6 mana. So you can just look at it as you're becoming +4. And that's how this deck really functions, is you use Hidden Strings with your 2 Lotus Fields to make a bunch of mana. And it's part of the reason that Balagad Recovery is so good. That flip card that I told you that you should probably grab that's about 50 cents, is that Balagad Recovery with Hidden Strings is another just +1 mana, because you're going to pay 5 to get 6. Mana is mana and it helps you win. Pore Over the Pages is actually really similar, where it's 5 mana to make 6, but you also get to draw 3 cards and discard 1. So that's why you're playing Pore Over the Pages in the deck as well. Vizier untaps Lotus Field, so it makes a mana and it draws a card. You should be seeing a theme here. You want to be untapping Lotus Field a whole bunch and then drawing cards. And the deck's big payoff in this build is Peer into the Abyss. So you're going to want to try to get up to 9 mana for Peer, and you want 9 mana because it costs 7 to cast, and then you want 2 more mana after. With that 2 mana, you can cycle Vizier or Hidden Strings, and then just continue winning. But it's basically counting to 9. It's a lot like playing Modern Tron, right? Like, you just want to count to 9 and then win the game. That's what Peer into the Abyss does. Or you can count to 11. I'm sorry. Count to 13 with Fae of Wishes, grab the sideboard Peer, and then win that way. I don't know why I messed up that basic math. Forgive me. But that's just another way that you can do it. And eventually, after you've drawn a whole bunch of cards, you can use Fae of Wishes for this Omniscience in the sideboard, cast another Fae, go get the Approach, cast Dig, Dig gets the Approach again, you cast Approach for the second time, and Approach says that you win the game the second time that you do this. That's how this Pioneer Challenger combo deck works. I love it. I've played this deck so much in my life. It's a blast. I truly mean that. And if you're thinking about getting this deck, I highly recommend it. You can go check out some of my older videos here on this channel. You know, I'm about to talk to you about a few of them that I've recorded recently, but this is the deck, and I love playing it. This is my favorite Pioneer deck, so if you're considering grabbing it, do it. All right, so I'm going to talk to you about a few other lists right now that you could possibly build towards, or, you know, build something different. Maybe you have your own vision for Lotus Field combo. That's okay, but I'm going to show you a few paths that you can take. So the first is the Emergent Ultimatum build. So you'll see here we have that Bark Channel pathway that I talked about. This is the blue-green flip plan that's about $5. You know, they're worth it to me. Oh, I forgot about Botanical Sanctum. These ones are a little bit more expensive, if I'm being honest. You're going to want these. But your Yavimaya Coast that came with your deck will do a very good impression of Botanical Sanctum. Don't feel pressured to go get these. Your Sanctums, I'm sorry, your Yavimaya Coast will do a good enough job in the meantime until you can afford to go get Botanical Sanctums. These are not cheap. They're anywhere between $12 and $15. So maybe in the long run, if you like playing this deck, you can go grab Botanical Sanctums, but in the meantime, your $1.50 Yavimaya Coast will do just fine. Don't feel bad about it. You'll lose a game here or there out of dozens. So I wouldn't worry about that. Yeah, so you'll come through here. One Brawl Chief of Compliance. You might play Brawl or Commander. Brawl's very popular in those formats, but also it's an all-star here. I've made a video maybe a year ago at this point, joking that Brawl was 2-mana Omniscience. And that's kind of because it is in this deck. If you can get Brawl to stick on the battlefield for a single turn, you're going to go bananas. And I really do mean that. Absolutely bananas. Because Brawl makes this Hidden Strings cost 1 mana, which means that Hidden Strings now makes 5 instead of 4. And when you have Balagad Recovery in your deck, this flip card that I talked about, instead of making 5 mana with Balagad and Hidden Strings, I'm sorry, instead of making 1 mana with Balagad and Hidden Strings, you're now making 3. I said it the wrong way, but you're plus 3 mana. This build only runs 3 Fae of Wishes, so you won't need to get a 4th, which is sort of a plus. But like I said, Fae of Wishes is only a quarter to 50 cents. It's a pretty easy card to grab. This build runs Shimmer of Possibility instead of the Strategic Planning. That's because we're only running a single dig through time. Shimmer digs a little bit deeper. These are 10 cents. Your local game store will have these. You can also get them from TCG Player. I'm not affiliated in any way with any company, so just TCG Player is an easy way to buy. That's why I recommend it. They're not paying me, but you can go check out them. Sylvan Scrying. This is to get your Lotus Field. I talked about how this deck wins with Lotus Field and Thespian stage. You know, Scrying gets the other half that you need, or the first half, that sort of thing. Mastermind's Acquisition. And I didn't talk about this yet, but it's another wish. And the reason that you split them up is some people out there don't want you to have fun. That's just the truth. They do not want you to enjoy yourself. Sounds pretty miserable, right? Like you just want to go out there, play your crazy combo deck. They don't want that to happen. Slaughter Games, naming Lotus Field. Unmourned Ego, naming Lotus Field. Or they name your Fae of Wishes, and now you can't go get your win condition. So you really want these so that way they can't name Fae of Wishes, so you can go get Approach, and you want to play your Lotus Field before those bullies try to remove them from your deck. So keep that in mind. That's one strategy that you can do. Don't let the bullies win. That's what I'm trying to say here. And then for Pore the Pages, Peer into the Abyss, Emergent Ultimatum. These things are literally, and I'm not exaggerating here, literally like 50 cents, and they are so good. So unlike Peer into the Abyss, you don't need mana floating to cast this to win. 7 mana will win all on its own. So it's even easier to win, but you do have to split it up between 3 colors. It's very, very powerful. I would definitely recommend thinking about this build, and it works so that you get a main deck copy of Omniscience, you get Peer into the Abyss, and then you get Pore the Pages or Hidden Strings to untap your lands. Your opponent's stuck in a pickle, and they have to choose which way they want to lose the game. Because if they give you Omniscience, you cast the rest of the spells in your hand to win. Or if they gave you Pure, you get to draw half your deck and untap 2 lands. So it's not looking good for them. Last time I played this build, I actually ran an Emergent Ultimatum in the board. I don't know why this list doesn't have it, but there should be an Emergent Ultimatum in the board to get with your Fae. So cut a card in here, maybe the 3rd copy of Anger of the Gods, or maybe go down to 1 Thought Distortion. I might like that a little bit more. But you should definitely have an Emergent Ultimatum in the board somewhere. So here's that Ugin that I talked about. This card is just so good. This and Botanical Sanctum are probably the last 2 cards that you should get for the deck. I would personally get Sanctums before I got Ugin, but get whatever you'd like. These are just options that you can take. The second Omniscience is about another $10, so keep that in mind. Yeah, and then Alpine Moon is to bully your friends that might have bought the same deck as you. So if your friends are also buying the Lotus Field Challenger deck, show them who's boss. Buy an Alpine Moon, and then just push your friends over and win in their face. That's what I'm trying to say here. You can be a bully too, if that's your thing. And this upcoming list is the list that I played last time here on this very YouTube channel. This list is a little bit experimental. I'm not saying that it's better than the previous Ultimatum list. I don't really know, but it's certainly different. So you're actually running red in this list. So you're running Ketria Triome, which is a tri-land that cycles for 3 mana, and then you're running the card Wish. Wish can actually allow you to play a Lotus Field from your sideboard, which helps beat those bullies that might be running Unmourned Ego. And if they are, you can just play the Lotus Field from your sideboard and beat them that way. There's more copies of Brawl in this list because it allows you to cast Wish even faster. So keep that in mind, because you can play Brawl on turn 2, play Wish on turn 3, and play a land. So that's the goal there. But it also allows you to just go bananas, like I said. There's no copy of main deck Peer into the Abyss here. You do have 4 copies of Wish to get the sideboard one. Yeah. And then you'll notice there's still the Ugin here. No copies of Omniscience in the entire 75. You just don't need it. When you have 3 copies of Brawl, it is Omniscience. You won't need to put that giant 10 mana enchantment into play, because we're not trying to cast Approach of the Second Sun twice. Instead, we're going to Aetherflux Reservoir people and then shoot them for 50. It's a little bit of a different win condition, but it's less mana intensive, and that's pretty good when you're not running Omniscience. So this is another way that you can win with Lotus Field Combo. All right, so that's my introduction. But this is the Challenger deck. This is your starting point. And I'm going to play a league with this if you're interested in sticking around. See how it fares against the the Pioneer metagame here on Magic Online. So if you're interested in seeing how it might do in your local game store against people that are bringing their Pioneer decks that they might have had for a while, stick around, see how it looks. But before I do that, if you've appreciated this video so far, consider subscribing. It's a great way of supporting us, and I would greatly appreciate that. And if you're already subscribed, or maybe you're not, but you want to, support us even further, comment and like this video. That helps us get into the YouTube algorithm, and I would greatly appreciate that, and you. And if you would like to go to the next level, we do offer memberships here on this channel. So with memberships, you get access to our members-only Discord. And actually, first things first, our Discord's free. So if you're just interested in more Pioneer content, or you have questions about this deck, join our Discord. That is in the social media section down below. And yeah, you should join us. But if you're already in there, if you become a member, you get access to the members only section on top of highlighted user profiles. And maybe you want a sideboard guide for your Pioneer Challenger deck. If you join our middle tier, I will build you a sideboard guide for your deck, on top of you getting 50% off donation decks, which is how this video happened. So Mike Noble, you are the real hero, and I appreciate you. Mike Noble entered this Pioneer Challenger deck for everyone to view as a donation deck. Mike, you're a hero. And, donation decks just make great content, so thank you. I don't know why I stumbled on that, but I did. And yeah, so donation decks are a great thing to do. And then our top tier, you get early access to videos forever. Go check that stuff out. We also, you can go to theepicstorm.com/donation decks, and there you can submit your deck to be featured here on this channel. You just have to attach it as a TXT. We have theepicstorm.com/shop. Go check that out. We have a ton of sweet card singles. And on top of that, we have, woo, I failed. A ton of sweet, sweet merch, including our brand new mini token pack that I'll be previewing coming up in the middle of match number 1. So stick around to see our new mini token pack. I promise it's really sweet. Don't go anywhere. Match number 1 is coming up in just a second. You're going to love it. Pioneer Challenger deck on its way. Welcome to match number 1 of this Pioneer Challenger deck, Lotus Field combo. We are facing Lurrus of the Dream Den, and if you're looking to play Pioneer, get ready for most of your opponents to reveal that card. It's really powerful. So one thing I like to do when I'm playing my decks with wish effects, including this one, we are playing Fae of Wishes and Mastermind's Acquisition, is I like to open up my sideboard so I can see all of my sideboard cards while I'm playing. Most of you are probably going to be playing this Challenger deck in paper. You can keep your deck, or I'm sorry, your sideboard in your deck box, and you're allowed to look at it whenever you'd like. If you need to know what's in your board, you can just grab it, look at it. Don't let your opponent make you feel uncomfortable. That's what I'm trying to say here. You could fan it out like this, but then you're giving your opponents information on what's in your sideboard, and you don't really want to do that. So our opponent won the die roll, and they're asking us if we'd like to keep this hand. So this hand has Lotus Field in it, which is something that we really want. Lotus Field 2 lands is pretty difficult to mulligan with this deck when we have Lotus Field 2 lands. To make this hand even better, we have a Thespian stage. We have our land combo already. We don't need, Sylvan Scrying to help find or the strategic planning to hit. Our hand already has everything. Unfortunately, we have 2 of these basic islands. Typically, these would be blue-green fast lands, Botanical Sanctums, or Bark Channel Pathways. And if that was the case, we could actually play Grazer on turn 1, put Temple into play, and Scry on the first turn, which would be even better. So we're already seeing the diminishing effects of playing the Pioneer Challenger deck a little bit. That said, it's still obviously a great starting point. We're going to keep this. All right, so I'm just going to hit the 6 button. I can't do anything on my opponent's turn, so it just makes so I'm not running down my clock anymore. On Magic Online, you only have 25 minutes, and we need to win before then. So, due to not having a basic force, we're probably playing Temple of Mystery on the first turn, so that way we can accelerate into Lotus Field on the second turn. Alright, so I think that's still the game plan. We're going to play our Temple. We do not need this other land. We're going to bottom that. And with our opponent playing a Spire of Industry, there's a good chance that they are the artifact deck. It plays, I can't think of the name of it. I just call it Scissors all the time. It's a one in a blue for an enchantment that turns an artifact into a 5/5 creature. I believe that's what they're playing at least. Okay, so they're looking to put an artifact into play. Coil. Yep, they're definitely playing that deck. Ornithopter. And now this becomes a 2/2. Okay, so we're going to play our Grazer on the second turn. Not only does this accelerate, like I said, but we're going to get to... We might as well cast Opt here. We don't need another land. Big was a good find. So now we get a blocker, but we also get to put our Lotus Field into play, which is just huge. Alright, so now we put Lotus Field into play and sacrifice our 2 lands. Boom, boom. Tricks of the trade. So you could put your Lotus Field into play first, and then with the trigger on the stack, cast the Opt, which is almost what I did, but like it's unnecessarily complicated for the sake of, doing things with triggers on the stack when it doesn't hurt to play the field first, or play the Opt first. Alright, so we have our blocker. Let's see what our opponent does here. We might end up blocking, we could take it, I'm not sure yet. One interesting thing about strategic planning in this deck is it puts cards through your graveyard for dig through time, so it's always 3 cards. There it is. Ensoul Artifact. That's the name of the card. It's literally just a giant pair of scissors. So that's what it is in my head, but Ensoul Artifact is the name. And now they have two rather large creatures. I think we just want to block the 5/5. Alright, so we're going to fall to 17 life. I would like to draw another Grazer right here as another blocker. Boo, we didn't need that. We can just copy now and then pass. So we're in a little bit of a pickle. We have to live till next turn. Our opponent has 9 power in play already. We're only at 17 life. So our crucial turn is coming up. Okay. So their creature just got bigger. Now they have 10 power. They need to deal 7 more. What did that do? Oh, it turned into a 5/5. And they accidentally skipped their attack step. Brutal. Alright, so they couldn't kill us anyway. But now we need to win the game. So, gotta get moving. We don't really need to play the land first, but let's play the strategic planning because it's going to put cards to the graveyard for this dig through time, which is what we're looking to do. And that was not a very good planning. That was actually kind of bad for us. Alright, so we will add blue mana now and cast this dig through time. And we don't have Balagad Recovery in our deck, so it doesn't actually really matter what we remove. But we need to hit Hidden Strings. We did not hit Hidden Strings. That's not good. We have Pore the Pages. And I guess we could maybe play Fae of Wishes as a blocker. I think that might be the game plan here. Any order? Alright, so we can play our land. And now let's opt to see if we hit the Hidden Strings. We did not. So we're going to bottom this Grazer. Yikes. Okay, so Fae of Wishes is on blocking duty. And we have to pray to live another turn. So our opponent got punished for accidentally not attacking last turn. And we're going to have another opportunity to maybe win the game if we get to untap. Opponent has 3 cards in hand. Ornithopter, so their Smith is going to get larger. 2 cards in hand now. Great. This was a really cool combo, by the way. The Black Staff plus Serpent. I like that quite a bit. Alright, so we're going to block. They're all 5/5s, but this one, I don't know. It doesn't matter. As long as you don't block this one, because this one tramples. Now we're at 7, so Shrapnel Blast doesn't kill us if that's what they have in their hand. Okay. So we need to win the game. We did not need a 3rd copy of Sylvan Scrying. So we're going to cast Pore here. Untap our 2 lands. We found a Hidden Strings. So that's step number 1. We can discard a Sylvan Scrying. And let's cycle this Vizier. Okay, so untap. We really want to find Peer into the Abyss. I did not need another Lotus Field. So that's not great. We could... Here's an option we could do. We could Sylvan Scrying for our last temple and play the temple. So that would be -2 mana. And then we would get an additional Scry. So if we don't want that card, we can put it on the bottom, and then we can opt to see another good card instead of playing a Yavimaya Coast. Also shuffles in all those cards that we placed on the bottom that we don't want. So I'm not really sure what the right play is, but part of me thinks that we're not supposed to shuffle because we know there's a bunch of stuff we don't want on the bottom. Alright, I'm just going to cast the opt. Not good. We're all down to this opt. Another land. That's a heartbreaker. So unfortunately, our opponent gave us a window to win, and we never found the payoff spell. Alright, so we have lost the first game. That was a tough decision on whether or not you should Sylvan Scrying. I don't know, because you're down 3 mana if you play the Sylvan Scrying, which just makes it a little tricky. But we're facing the Ensoul Artifact deck, where Wilt is very good, so we're definitely going to board those in. Maybe even this Blink of an Eye as well. You usually want to leave Void Snare in the sideboard, so that way you can go get it with Fae of Wishes. Probably take out these Ops. I don't think Opt is particularly good in this deck, if I'm being honest, and it doesn't hurt to side out a couple. Yeah, I think I'm fine with this board plan. You could leave in a second Opt and board out a land, maybe. But 24 used to be pretty standard. I don't think I want to go any lower than that. Let's just try this out. And the nice thing about Wilt and Blink of an Eye is that they all can turn into cards, much like an Opt. You can cycle them to draw. You can kick a Blink of an Eye to bounce something and draw. It's all pretty good. We drew the one of Opt. And here we don't have Lotus Field, but we have Stage, and we have a couple cantrips. I think I'm okay with keeping this. Our opponent's going to take a mulligan. And once again, our opponent revealed Luris, their companion. Right. So we can just pass, and then on our opponent's end step, we'll cast Opt because it's an instant. Okay. Darksteel Citadel into Gingerbrute. Okay, I'm just going to cast the Opt now. Lotus Field. Yup, I definitely want that. That was a great draw. Alright, so our opponent's going to attack now. And now what we're looking to do is we want to draw a non-Thespian stage land. That's our goal. Okay. Draw. We did not hit it. So we have two choices here. We can cast the strategic planning, or we can hold up Wilt and kill the Gingerbrute if they try to enchant it with Ensoul Artifact, or any of the white enchantments that make them larger. I can't think of the name of it's like everything that glitters and what's the white one? I can see both arts in my head, but I can't think of it. But they play cards that make their creatures larger. So I think I'm going to pass here and then just look to kill their creatures with Wilt or bounce them with Blink of an Eye. And if you really wanted to, you could also just cycle the Wilt to look for another land. And they're just going to attack. Interesting. We'll take the one. Okay. What are you hiding, opponent? You kept your hand for a reason. Okay, so they have the Smith again. Greenleaf Drum was the card they picked up. I think I'm just going to take a draw. So we're really looking for a land here. We did not hit. Because we did not hit, we need to cast Strategic Planning. No hit again. So that's bad news. But something we can do is we can just take the Sylvan Scrying. Not that I love this play, but we can take the Scrying, sacrifice our Thespian stage, and then go get another stage with the Scrying. Like I said, I don't love this line, but it does work out because let's say they play something that we want to kill with the Volt. This Lotus Field taps for green. It's not perfect, but okay, so we can blow up the Ensoul Artifact. Taking a bunch of damage here. We're going to fall to 9 life. Yep. Okay, Grazer. I think I want to hang on to the Grazer. And you'll see why in a little bit. We're going to play this, and let's just blow up the Ensoul artifact. So we used our mana completely here. You could have played Grazer and just chump blocked, but the way that it works with Thespian stage is that when you copy, you often have one extra mana left over. So next turn we can play Grazer as a blocker with that one extra mana. Okay, another Ensoul artifact. So that's 7 damage. And that's 9. We just died. Brutal. Missing that land drop cost us. And not to highlight it again, but we took a few points off Yavimaya Coast. If those were Botanical Sanctums, we'd have a few more life when we get to untap here. And we would hypothetically draw a Yavimaya Coast, which would be another land. But with another land, you have 2 mana untapped. That means after you copy your Lotus Field, you can untap them with your hidden strings. So it happens. We got a little bit unlucky to not draw the land that we needed over the course of a few turns, but it's not the end of the world. Our opponent also played game 2 fairly well, in my opinion, so it happens. Sometimes you lose in Magic. It's good to be gracious. Let's just try to get the next match. I'll see you there. All right, round number 2, and we are on the play. Let's get it. Let's win. Lotus Field. And once again, it's a little bit awkward that we have these basics in our deck because we can't cast the Opt. That said, this hand is still a keep. We're going to keep this. And our opponent always revealing Lurrus. Just like in Modern, Pioneer, Lurrus is very popular. So we're going to lead off on Forest and just pass. A little bit heartbreaking that we can't opt off this Forest, but it is what it is. One of the downsides of playing basics. Okay, so they'll probably take Peer into the Abyss or Hidden Strings if I had to guess. Fae of Wishes, that's interesting. Okay. So next turn we play our Lotus Field. And when you have 2 lands Lotus Field, you usually keep. It's just something that you do. So don't feel bad about this. Alright, so next turn they're going to be able to flashback Thoughtseize. Probably taking the Peer into the Abyss. Okay. We still have to find Thespian stage. They could take the Opt, but I don't think that's correct. Alright. So they're just the black-red mid-range deck. It's pretty popular in Pioneer. Yep. Goodbye, Peer. Imagine it's Peer. I could be wrong. Ooh, they chose the Opt. Spicy take. Wonder if they have another discard spell. Oh no, they chose Hidden Strings. My bad. My eyes deceived me. Alright, Fabled Passage. So we are looking for a Thespian stage. No dice. Let's cast this Opt, see what we can find. Don't need you. Ding. Alright, so we're going to copy the Lotus here. And our opponent's now put in a spot where if they don't have another discard spell, we are likely going to win the game on our turn. Okay, so they are looking to find another discard spell. Ooh, they don't have one for the Dread Horde. What is this? Oh no, opponent. Okay, I like the Pore. So remember, we need 9 mana to win. So right now we have 6 plus 4 is 10. and then 11 with the land drop. And I am going to hold on to the Pore over the pages because if I cast Pore, we're going to draw less cards off of Pier. And I want to draw the maximum number as possible. We're going to draw half our deck right now. Pretty sweet. We got to do it. And now we cast this Hidden Strings and tap these. Okay. Now we have a couple of Viziers, so we're going to cycle. And Vizier is just +1 mana. So that's the easiest way that I found to think about Vizier, is you really just want to count all of your mana as plus and don't do the math on minus plus. So for example, this Pore with the pages is just +1 mana. So we're going to have 4 mana after this resolves, which is enough to cast the granted side of Fae of Wishes. And I can just play an island here. We can play our land. It doesn't hurt. Alright, so now I can cast this Hidden Strings. Like I said, this is just +4 mana, so now we have 8 mana floating. We're going to go up to 9 mana floating, cast Pore. Almost through our deck at this point. If you want to be cheeky, you can untap your opponent's lands, but I personally don't recommend that. Let's scroll over and see what else we have over here. A whole lot of Sylvan Scryings. So we actually don't have a way to go get the Omniscience yet, so I'm going to cast Dig Through Time. And with this Dig Through Time, we can just exile any cards in our graveyard because we don't have Balagad Recovery, so it just doesn't matter. Alright, so we have 16 cards, so we're going to see a lot here. Pore and Fae are both fine. Like I mentioned before, the Pore is just +1 mana. Discard a Lotus Field, why not? We can now cast Granted. Okay, let's go get Omniscience. Cast Omniscience. And we can get a card from our sideboard. Sorry, my mic was in the way. Alright, so we're going to get Approach. Okay, our opponent conceded. But we would get Approach there, cast Approach, and then we have 2 Strategic Planning and an Opt, which is exactly 7 cards to get it again. Or if you had the other Dig Through Time, you could just cast the other Dig and then just go ahead. It's also worth noting that when you cast Approach, you gain 7 life. So we would go up to 14. You could also peer into the abyss, go back to 7, draw half of your deck, which would be 12. So you would draw 6 cards. But we won game number 1. Take that, red black. Here, I don't know if we sideboard. Yeah, I think we just resubmit our deck. I don't think we really want to board here. You can maybe board in Blink of an Eye, but I actually kind of like Opt here because their opponent has a ton of discard. Our quality is great. Grazer is a blocker. I do value that. With only 1 sweeper in the board, you usually want to leave Sweltering Suns so you can get it with Fae of Wishes wherever she went. Here she is. So I just think it's probably correct to not board here. All right, this hand is fantastic. We're going to keep this. Goldlerus. When it's going to mulligan to 6, we'll keep. Now they're going down to 5. Okay, so they're probably looking for Duress or Thoughtseize. Lucky for us, we already have Lotus Field in hand, so something like a Sylvan Scrying cannot be discarded. And there it is, the Thoughtseize. I think they'll probably pick Opt or Vizier here. Taking Grazer actually doesn't do a whole lot of good for them, so I would be shocked if that was their pick. Vizier's wise, it is a mana and a card. Wow. Perfect draw. Put that island into play. Stage was just amazing. So now what we want to find are payoffs like Peer into the Abyss or, you know, Pore the Pages, those sort of things. Okay. We can cast Opt here. We don't need another Lotus Field. Well, we drew one anyway. I did put it on the bottom. There's just another Lotus Field there. So let's float green. We can play field, sacrifice these two. We still have a green floating, so I can play Grazer and then play Thespian Stage. Now our opponent's Thoughtseize is going to discard our Opt, which is fine. It's not the end of the world, it's just an Opt. Okay. I've never seen that card before. Discard 2 and then exile, that's pretty good. They chose not to attack because they didn't want to exile the Thoughtseize. So this is pretty free for us here. We can just go get another Thespian Stage out of our deck. And then copy. And this makes it so we just have more mana for later on. And if we don't draw something good on our turn, we can just make another Lotus. And then at any point in the game with 9 mana, if you draw Peer into the Abyss, you just win on the spot. Or 2 green beasts holding the fork down. Those big 3 butts. Village Rights, okay. Are you gonna Village Rights again? They are. And they now have 4 cards in hand. Yavimaya Coast, not exactly the draw we wanted. It's fine. So we're just going to copy here. And at this point, we're just hoping to draw well. I mean, we're in a spot that I'm comfortable here. This is, you know, not bad. Having triple Lotus, it could be worse. All right, so they have a Stitcher Supplier. Kroxa is going to make us lose 3 life here. Next turn, they can bring Kroxa back. Ding! This is what I was talking about. You just had to put mana into play and then draw the best card in your deck. Okay, so we can... Whoa, I didn't actually want to cast that Opt. Whoops. That was a misclick. We can untap our 2 lands here. Okay. Cast Pore. And our opponent's going to concede. We've won with the Pioneer Challenger deck. That's what the deck looks like when it's winning. Stick around. Hopefully you'll see me win a little bit more. Don't go anywhere. Match number 3 coming right up. The third match, and we have another opponent revealing Lurrus of the Dream Den. This hand is probably fine. It's a little bit slow. Doesn't have a Lotus, but you do have 3 cards to look for. 4 if you count the Temple. And I'll be completely honest. I completely forgot to show our new mini token pack. I will do that in the middle of this round. Alright, so we're facing Burn, and I did not keep a hand that was well suited for this match. Lotus Field is obviously a good draw. We want to find a Grazer now. Or, I mean, a Thespian Stage as well, but Grazer would be nice because it would accelerate as well blocking. Okay. So we're going to take at least 1 here. Okay. That could have been worse. Light up the stage. No Grazer. I think I should opt. No, we should probably planning here. Dig's the deepest for that stage. Scrying. Fine. So right now we're looking at like maybe a turn 5, which is probably just a little bit too slow. We might be able to turn 4 with double Vizier depending on what our draws are. But we also have to live till turn 4. Yikes. Getting in there for 4. We're going to 9. Opponent still has 2 cards in hand. So something I could do is just play a Fae of Wishes as a blocker here. I don't think I hate that. Okay, Lotus Field. And then we're just looking to draw stage next turn. It'll be harder for them to kill us when we have a 4 toughness blocker. Not that it's impossible, but Boros Charm kills us here. Them having another D2 Lava Runner really helped. 1 card in hand. Okay, so we get to untap. And we know that they couldn't kill us last turn. So they can play... Actually, we're just dead on board. I guess... Assuming that it's a land. Let's say they have a land in hand. They can go Luris, get back the Vishino, and we're dead that way. So we just need to try to win here. It would take almost a miracle for us to win. I could play another blocker and pray for the best, but that's still actually not good enough, assuming that they... Alright, so hypothetically speaking, let's say they have Land Luris in hand. Next turn, they swing out. We block Fae on a Gitu Lava Runner, Vizier on a Gitu Lava Runner, take 1 off Swift Spear. They go Luris, Vishino. We would go to 1. I think that actually might be our line here, because I'd have to get 2 insane draws off these Viziers in order to win. Like, I just feel like it's so improbable. Okay, we're going to try this. It's a little bit crazy, but I think it's probably slightly better. Right, we want that. That actually would have been draw number 1. But so it would have been our first draw that we needed to win. Our second one would have, so this Vizier would had to have drawn Thespian stage, and then our Opt would have to hit a business spell. We're just dead if our opponent drew a burn spell here. But we were dead no matter what if they drew a burn spell. So we're going to go to 3, and they can go land Luris Vishino. There's the Luris. And then Vishino, we go to 1. So this was our out to winning. So we actually hit our out, and now we just have to accomplish winning the game. So our next draw would have been Yavimaios, which isn't good enough. So it's pretty free here to just start off by cycling Vizier. And let's see what we draw. Okay. And I'm going to get to show you a pretty cool trick this turn, I believe. We're going to cycle Vizier again. Untap here. Draw. Okay. We can play Sylvan Scrying. Go get Thespian stage. Play stage. Copy. Alright. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hidden strings on our field. Yes, yes, and yes. This is the first time we're using the Cipher ability of hidden strings. We're going to put hidden strings onto our Fae of Wishes. So when Fae of Wishes deals combat damage to our opponent, we'll get to cast hidden strings for free, making just free mana. So that's pretty sweet. But to start off, here we're going to cast Opt. I believe. I just want to think through this. Yeah, I think I do. That was a very good draw. We'll definitely take that. And cast Pore. Okay. Get rid of a land. And we can cast Dig now. We still have that hidden strings in our back pocket underneath the Fae. Well, that was really stinky. Sure. Okay, let's cast this strategic planning. for the pages. I'm trying to think how I want to do this. Okay. So I could have held that for post-combat. I'm choosing to try to use that 2 mana I had floating, so I'm not just wasting it. Right? Finding the second dig through time was very good. We can cast this now. 1. It doesn't really matter what we get rid of here. Okay. We can't use the pier because we're at 1. Oh no. Wow. We're in trouble. Trying to think of what I can do here. So our opponent also has Runamap Ruins in play, so that can be lethal. Okay, so my plan was to use Lotus Field with the hidden strings on the stack to return Fae to our hand. So then we can move, we can switch phases, cast hidden strings again, go up to 10 mana, go down to 6 for Fae, but what do we do with 6 mana? I think unfortunately our draws just missed. There's a whole lot of lands in there. And unfortunately, that's sort of the downside of not having Balagad Recovery, because like a Balagad Recovery in there instead of some of these forests would allow us to win the game. So I think we just need to go to combat. Okay. Damage happens. So let's float mana. Alright, and we're going to cast this on our 2 lands. Yes. Yes. And then bounce the Fae of Wishes, discarding 2 lands. Alright. So we have 1 mana floating that's going to waste. And now we can hidden strings untapping these 2. Unfortunately, there's just nothing with 6 mana I think that we can abuse. So we could Sweltering Suns, but this land's going to kill us. Yeah, there's just nothing I can do here. Okay, so we're going to go to game 2. Did what I could. Unfortunately, just like this build got a little bit punished on all those draw spells because none of them were Balagad, which is part of the reason we all run Balagad, is because it's a spell when you need it to be a spell, it's a land when you need it to be a land. It's just beautiful. I don't think we're actually supposed to board with this version because we only have the 1 copy of Sweltering Suns. So instead of sideboarding, why don't I show you our brand new mini token packs? So they're awesome. You actually get 10 more tokens now than the previous mini token pack. So you're getting 64 combo tokens. 10 black, 10 blue, 10 red. So you're getting more blue mana than in our previous combo pack, by the way, which only had 5. You're now getting 10 blue mana, 10 red, 5 green, 5 white, 3 colorless, 20 storm tokens, 1 galvanic relay token, 4 treasure tokens, and then 10 monks. The monks are for our friends that play vintage with your monastery mentor. There we go. Monastery mentor, which I suppose you can play in Pioneer as well, but they're primarily for our vintage friends. And then for our friends in Legacy, Slime Time is here. We now have tokens for your copies of Ave Progenitor Ooze. They're already power and toughness labeled. They're wonderful. You can get them now in our mini token pack. We also have squirrels for your copies of Chatterstorm and Pauper, and then goblins for your Empty the Warrens. Squirrels versus goblins. What's not to love? That is our new mini token pack that you can get from theepicstorm.com/shop. That's where you go grab this. We've already sold over 30 of these in under a day. So they're selling quickly. If you're interested in your own mini token pack, make sure to go check those out. They're wonderful, and I would highly recommend it. Once again, that is theepicstorm.com/shop. All right, game number 2, and we're on the play. Sure, we do not mulligan 2 lands Lotus Field. All right. Lead on the island, I suppose. I don't think it really matters that much. We're going to play out Fae of Wishes on turn 2 as a blocker, that's for sure. Okay. A spear. The monastery that I tried to pronounce instead of mentor. That was a very good draw. Okay, so we're just going to cast Fae. The nice thing about Fae of Wishes is that it has 4 toughness, so that means that it gets to block a creature and eat a burn spell. Alright, so if you want to... So we got to soak up an attack step and a burn spell, assuming that they kill the Fae. Eidolon. Okay, so they did not kill Fae. And unfortunately for us, this build only has the 1 Sweltering Suns in the board and has no Blast Zone in the main, so Eidolon is particularly good against us. They still have 5 cards. What you doing? Interested to see what they do here. So we have a pretty cool trick that we can do on our next turn, which is we can just play Thespian stage go. On the following turn, they'll attack. We block with Fae of Wishes, cycle Vizier, copy with Thespian stage, and then return Fae of Wishes to our hand. And then on the following turn, we can Fae of Wishes for Sweltering Suns. So I don't think we're going to block here if our opponent gives us the choice. Alright, so they've played a Soul Scar Mage and they've taken 2 off their own Eidolon. Swift Spear. Okay. So they could have a Wizard's Lightning that would kill Fae of Wishes. They could also have... What is that shock called? Can't think of it. I own some too, and they're like $5 each. I'm just gonna block the Eidolon, I think. So we would go to 14. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna block. Wild Slash. It is called Wild Slash. And they had the Wizard's Lightning. They chose not. So we're at 10. This play may not work out, depending on what our opponent's last card in their hand is. So we would need their hand to just be like lands here in order for us to do anything meaningful. Alright, so they've begun combat. And this is a match where, so hypothetically, let's say our trick play works. And we get to block, bounce Fae, copy our Lotus Field, all this good stuff. We get to Sweltering Suns. They're a Lurrus deck. So our opponent could, in theory, just replay the Eidolon after we kill it with Sweltering Suns off of Lurrus. So that's part of the reason why we run Fae of Wishes. Just throwing that out there, or not Fae of Wishes, Anger of the Gods instead. Alright, so they have Boros Charm, and that's exactly 10 damage. Alright, so not a whole lot we can do about that. Yeah. Womp womp. Swordplay did not matter. We are now 1 and 2. Welcome to the fourth match. We are on the play. Unfortunately, we cannot keep one land Lotus Field. You're supposed to mulligan these hands. I know they're very tempting, but you're supposed to ship them. And this is part of the reason why. This hand is just so much better. Especially with the London mulligan. We're going to bottom a Thespian stage here. And then we already have our combo, our lands to sacrifice, and then strategic planning to help dig for the spells we need. Okay, island go. Ooh, I just realized no Luris this round. Like that. Boreal Grazer, okay. Is it the Mirror? It is not. It's Mono Green Devotion. Traditionally a very bad matchup for Lotus Field if they're on a standard build. And the reason that I mention that is there's some builds that aren't playing Karn anymore, and Karn goes and gets Damping Sphere, which just wrecks our entire day. Alright, we're going to take Pure here. Our plan is to just turbo into Pure into the Abyss. Right? Ooh, they've missed land 3. Another Lotus Field is not the draw we wanted. Alright, so we've gotten rid of our lands. We are just looking to, live a little bit longer. Wow, what do they keep? Alright, so we should be able to win the game next turn. Alright, we've done our Tron combo of Lotus Field and Lotus Field. And a concession, wow. We didn't even get to cast our Pier. But we would have won on our turn, not the end of the world. Alright, so Negate can come in. Will, and Blink. It's interesting. So I think you're probably supposed to board out Opt and keep Grazer for speed. You just need a bunch of answers to Damping Sphere, assuming that they are on the Mono Green Devotion deck. And Negate counters Karn and other things, Giant Planeswalkers, so I don't think it's the worst. You could end up leaving in an Opt, I guess. Maybe that's slightly better. Sure, let's try this. This hand just needs a Lotus. I think I'm fine with this hand. It might seem a little bit crazy, but we have double Temple to help Scry. We have a Blink of an Eye for Damping Sphere. I don't hate it. Alright, Temple. I'll keep you Grazer. Grazer helps accelerate. So, I mean, it's not bad. Alright, so they might not be Mono Green Devotion. Alright, don't need you. You can put this stage into play now. Give me Lotus Field. Forest. Alright, so they found another forest. Field. It's like Lotus Field. Lotus Field itself would have been a little bit better because we could have copied it with Thespian stage this turn, but I will take the Sylvan Scrying. Alright, so next turn we're looking to copy Thespian or copy Lotus Field with Thespian stage. And in theory we could cycle Vizier looking for hidden strings, and if we found hidden strings, we could cast Pore over the pages, which gets us closer to casting Peer into the Abyss. So I guess what I'm saying is give me a hidden strings for my draw step, please. Alright, 6 mana. Carnage Tyrant, that's fine. I don't care about that. Yep. So I honestly think it's a little bit greedy to cycle the Vizier here, because next turn it would guarantee a win with Peer into the Abyss. So I think we're supposed to just hang on tight. I guess technically a land drop would... We can copy here. Like, that's just something free to do. I'm just going to play the Grazer and pass. Because even if I draw hidden strings, I feel like it's wasteful because then I have to hit off the Pore as well. And if I draw hidden strings, I just don't want to waste my resources for winning the game. Instead, I can play another Grazer here. I can double block Carnage Tyrant just to make sure that I don't die to some crazy pump spell or something, and make sure that I get to win the game on our turn. Alright, so Carnage Tyrant's coming in. We're going to throw both beasts in front of the Dino. So assuming they don't have anything else, we'll take one here and go to 19, and then we get to win the game on our turn. And it's more food for dig through time. Another Carnage Tyrant. That is fine. Alright, so we would not have hit the hidden strings anyway, and we are free here to just cycle. Draw. Okay. So 7 mana. Okay, we can discard a Sylvan Scrying here, which is free. So we have 7 mana in play, 2 floating. That is the 9 mana that I told you that we needed for Turn to the Abyss. I'm just going to play my land because I can. Have this for blue. Cast this Pier. We'll have 3 blue floating. We're going to draw 21 cards, I believe, here. Alright. Looks like we drew 22. Nice. Alright, so it should be smooth sailing from here. We hit triple hidden strings, which is just wild. Alright, so we're going to make a whole bunch of mana. Oh no! I clicked the wrong button. Okay, maybe I can still win. Ah, that was dumb. I accidentally clicked no instead of yes. Alright, I'm sorry everyone if I punted this. I actually drew the 4th hidden strings. I can see it over here. So we're going to cast the 4th hidden strings. Bail my misclick out. Alright, so we're actually 1 mana short of winning the game right now. So this Vizier will do. And that will give us the 14 mana we need to Fae into Omniscience. Okay, and we'll keep that Pore over there. Because something interesting, or at least I like to think it's interesting, is with Pore the Pages and Omniscience, you just get to untap 2 lands, but you didn't have to pay any costs. So let me scroll over. Where are you, Omniscience? There you are. Alright, so with Pore, you just gain 6 mana. And with that 6 mana, you can actually return the Fae of Wishes to your hand if you need to. With our hand, we don't need to, so it's not the end of the world. But that's why our opponent conceded, because now we can return, we can cast Fae, because you have to pay mana. Omniscience is only from hand. So you can play Fae, you can return Fae, you'll get the draw spell, and then win the game. We did it. We're 2-2. Let's see if we can get the 5th match, our final match. Stick around for it. I'm sure it's going to be a blast. Alright, the 5th and final round. Our opponent is on the play and they revealed once again Lures the Dream Den. 4 out of 5 rounds. That said, we've opened up on a Boreal Grazer into turn 2 Lotus Field. Going to keep this. Let's do it. So, the plan for us is turn 1 Forest, Grazer, put Island into play tapped. Are we actually playing the Ensoul Artifact deck again? We are. Okay. And then we on turn 2 we can play Strategic Planning, looking for what would have been Thespian stage. Wow, what a draw. Alright, so now we can just look for, you know, hidden strings, Pore the Pages, just payoffs with these strategic plans. Okay. I didn't realize that the Ensoul deck was this popular. Traditionally, when I've played Pioneer, granted I haven't played in a little bit, the Ensoul Artifact deck, or the Scissors deck, is a little bit more fringe. Okay. There's the drum. Okay. So I'm fine with that being their turn 2. Ornithopter, so now they can play Thopter to pump up their Smith. That worked out well for them. Okay. Great draw. We're just drawing runners. Planning. Wow. Tough call. I think we're supposed to take the Pore. Because the Hidden Strings doesn't help us win any faster with our current configuration of cards. So we need to have 2 more untap steps. That's what we're looking for here. They still have 3 cards in hand. Ghost Fireblade, okay. Plus 2 less to equip if it equips to a colorless creature. So for 1 mana, they can turn that Ornithopter into a 2/4, or this Stonecoil Serpent into a 3/3. Okay, so they activated their Mutable. I'm not sure what that does. I'm just going to take 6 here. Because if these creatures become larger next turn, I want to be able to block. Right, the island doesn't matter. We're just going to copy and then opt. And we're looking to win on our turn. Don't need a land. Vizier's not bad to help us win. We just have to be able to untap now. Turn 4, win in Pioneer. Come on, let's how about we get the turn 4 instead of our opponent? Okay. Shadow Spear. To make our Lotus Field lose hexproof. Is this all that glitters? Or an equip? An activation, apparently? Okay, so it looks like we're going to get to untap here. We're going to block the Smith. It's just better to have the Grazer in the graveyard on our combo turn because it's 1 more card we can delve away to dig through time. That was a good draw. Okay, so we should have a pretty easy win here. Okay, so we have 7 mana. Mana number 8 is our land, but we need 9 mana, so we're going to cast Pore because Pore makes a mana. Get rid of these lands, discard land, I guess. Alright, so we drew Hidden Strings, which just makes this super easy. Alright, so we have a bunch of mana now. So we have 6 plus 7 is 13. Well, 14 mana is Omniscience. So we're going to cast Pore again, which is a little bit different from our normal win here, but it's just easier to just cast Omniscience. So we'll discard there and use Granted on the Fae of Wishes to go get Omniscience. Play Omniscience. You're targeting us, going to 4 life. Alright, cast Granted again with Omniscience. Sorry that I'm leaning, but my microphone's a little bit in the way. We will get Approach. We have a dig, so we just have to cast Approach, and then dig. Pick up another Pier and Approach, I suppose. And we just have to cast the Approach again. Alright, and just like that, we've actually got to cast Approach this league. How crazy. So we've won game number 1 over the Ensoul Artifact deck. We definitely want these Wilts again, probably the Blink. And I think we just board like we did in our first match. The ops aren't super crucial, slowing your opponent down with Wilt and Blink, pretty good. Okay, so we've opened up a hand here that doesn't search for Lotus Field, doesn't have Lotus Field. This is a mulligan. I don't know if we've actually mulliganed this league or not. I'd have to go through and rewatch. I don't know if we have, but this hand's just not good enough. Actually, I know that we have at least once. Yeah, this hand's just stinky. We're going to ship it. Much better. So we probably get rid of dig here. We have 2 tutors for our 2 combo lands. We have a will to slow the opponent down. I like this. All right, that's not a very strong start for the opponent. Okay, Ornithopter makes it a little bit better. Okay. What you doing? I don't mind taking 2 from an Ornithopter if that's your entire turn. Deal. Okay, let's go get our Lotus. Check. Next turn we scrying for Thespian Stage, or we can cast Will if we need to, but I would like to be able to just go get Stage. Okay, so they're going to attack for 4, or we'll fall to 14. Draw. Another land, we didn't need that, but we can go get Stage like I said. Sorry about that. Yeah, so play our Lotus. Next turn we can play Stage and copy. Opponent had a pretty slow draw, which is really beneficial to our hand. Our hand isn't very fast. Like, we have a turn 5 win, maybe, and our opponent's just like, they're a fast deck, and they just opened up on sort of a slow hand. And now the Ensoul speeds them up quite a bit. We can kill the Ornithopter on our turn. And then next turn they can equip the Ghostfire Blade to the Mutavault, which would put us to 1. Is it better to play the Fae as a blocker then? We're definitely killing the Ornithopter. I think I just play the Fae out. Okay. So one nice thing about playing the Fae out is if we need to chump block here, it actually puts the 6th card to the graveyard for dig through time. So next turn we can play Thespian Stage and then copy Lotus Field and dig. We're just going to block here. Is that lethal next turn? So they can... Yeah, that represents lethal. Well, the Grazer was a great draw because now we have a blocker. Alright. So Lotus Field for green, we'll copy. Living on just like a razor's edge right now. Grazer puts in Yavimaya Coast, and now we pray to live. It's been a while since I've played Pioneer, as I've mentioned, but these lists used to play Shrapnel Blast. We haven't seen it yet out of either Ensoul Artifact deck, so there's a chance that they've just cut it. Okay. Yeah, this card seems so good in Pioneer. Like, this just seems like an amazing home for Blackstaff. Okay. Sure. So we're going to block the 6/6. Alright, and now it's party time. Draw. Very good draw. And I'm going to filter the colorless from Yavimaya into blue using the Pore. Alright, so that Pore could have been slightly better. Not the end of the world, though. Let's cycle this Vizier, make a mana draw card. The best Desperate Ritual. Fae was a good one. Alright, so we have 3 mana plus 7 is 10. 10 is not enough mana to win the game, so we're just going to dig. Okay, let's just remove some cards. And double planning. I guess those help us fuel the graveyard for dig. The rest of that dig through time was not very good, though. So I'm going to strategic planning again. Oh, why couldn't that be a Pore? That's amazing. Oh, wow. Am I really supposed to pass up on double hidden strings? That's just backbreaking. So that would actually put us back to 10. So if we took a hidden strings here, we would go back to 10 mana and then be relying on dig. And this is sort of why Balaged Recovery is so good, is that when you discard when you're forced to mill hidden strings, you're not put in this position. Yikes. What am I supposed to do here? I think it's actually Pore. I know it's less mana, but I think you're supposed to take the cards because these cards don't win the game. Okay, so we have a land now. So 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 4 is 12. We're 2 mana away. Let's dig. So now we're going to be 4 mana away. If we could find the last hidden strings in the deck, that would do it. Sort of a tall ask. I'll take a Pore and a Pier, though. So I don't know if I actually want to cast the Pier. It's actually casting the Pier. I don't know. So if we, it's free to start on hidden strings, I suppose. Like it doesn't matter when we cast that because there's no Brawl in this deck. So we can just untap there. We know that there's only a single hidden strings. My fear with casting Pier is that what if we don't hit the last hidden strings and then we're just down a bunch of mana? Where if I cast this Pore, we have 10 mana right now, I go up to 11. If I hit the hidden strings, we just win the game. That said, there's only one hidden strings left and there's 32 cards, so it's not very probable. If I cast Pier, let's say I hit the hidden strings, I would go hidden strings plus. How many visitors have we used? 1. So that's a total of 9 mana. If I hit all 3 visitors and the last hidden strings in 16 cards. And then we have how many Pores? 1, 2. So there's 1 Pore left in the deck, which is 10 mana. I don't know if we can actually win the game because we have to cast Omniscience. Yeah, this deck just doesn't have a lot of mana in it without Brawl. Another line I suppose I could do is we could cast Fae for Approach and go up to 10 life. Next turn, our opponent attacks us for 8. We would go to 2. I think I like that as a backup in case this Pore misses. Okay, so we didn't hit the hidden strings. But we can cast Approach and then try to win next turn. I think that this is probably the best line. Sorry that it took me a little bit to get here. It's just we would normally have to cast the Omniscience. I don't think it is possible after we burned 3 hidden strings. All right. So we would have to go 7 cards deep next turn. The strategic planning would bring us 4 cards deep after our draw step. So we'd still have to go 3 cards deep. So like a Pore, the Pages could win it, but we only have 1 of those left as well. You could maybe cast the Peer into the Abyss and just assume that you would hit the hidden strings. That's one thing you could do. We're going to 2 here. Right, so this lures the hand. Okay, a Stone Coil, sure. All right, so at 2 life you can cast the hidden, or yeah, the Peer into the Abyss, I mean. So we have 29 cards. We'd have to find the hidden strings in the last. is it 14 cards we're drawing off that, or 15? So it's basically you have a chance to draw the last hidden strings with 50% of your deck. Or we can cast strategic planning, and if we draw the last Pore or hidden strings off it, we win. This game has been a wild one. I think I'm supposed to just cast the pier. Alright. Come on, deck. Alright, I see a couple of Viziers. I don't see the hidden strings quite yet, but maybe I'll draw it off a Vizier. Right, cycle here. Going down to 12 cards. We did cast a dig, so we know it's not in the bottom 5 for what it's worth. Alright, so there's no hidden strings in here. We do have a Pore, though, and another Vizier, so we get a few looks. Okay, and now we can Pore. Untap our 2 copies of Lotus Field. We can discard this Lotus Field, and we hit the hidden strings. It was towards the bottom of the deck, but we got there. That's 6 mana. And actually, we didn't even need the hidden strings because we still have a land drop. So we hit everything but the hidden strings up until this point, but we got it. So white, and then cast the approach. And part of this is why I like winning with Aetherflux Reservoir. You just don't need as much mana. That's a big thing. Is this build is just so mana hungry, where with winning with Reservoir, it's way less mana hungry. But this is the Pioneer Challenger deck. We got a 3-2. Like, I'm happy with that. That's pretty good. So I think this deck has a lot of legs. We did see a little bit of the drawbacks of the cards not included, like Botanical Sanctum, the Bark Channel Pathway, playing Yavimaya Coast there. Yavimaya Coast actually cost us a game against the Burn deck, for example. But this deck's strong. Brawl really helps in my opinion too, so Brawl's a card I could see being added. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Go out and buy the Pioneer Lotus Combo deck, the Challenger deck. It's going to be worth your money. And if you'd like to show your appreciation for this video, pick up a mini token pack from theepicstorm.com/shop. As I recorded this, we've sold about 30 of them already. They're selling hot. They're great for keeping track of your mana. It does have 10 blue and 5 green mana in there to float. You have some white mana in there for approach. It will help you play this deck in paper, which is the whole point of playing the buying or creating the Pioneer Challenger decks. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep storming and have a great day. Hey, Bryant Cook here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, but also follow the social media channels down below. If you want to support this content directly, I would recommend going to theepicstorm.com/shop. And if you need a little bit of assistance with the Epic Storm to get to that next level, I would recommend going to theepicstorm.com/tutoring. Don't worry, there's more great content coming right up.